host of the Gridiron.
All right. Now, how might the Giants spend their money? So this is like a kind of like a two-part kind of thing here. So the first thing is, how might the Giants wind up spending their money? Now, they had, $40 to $50 million in cap space to spend. Now, of course, that doesn't include, they obviously have to sign their draft class. So that's going to cost them probably around like $10 million because to sign, because basically the way it works out is that it's only the top 51 that go against the salary cap. Now the player usually 51, player number 50 and 40, and the guys at the bottom, they're all making about the same amount of money. They're all making 900,000, maybe $1 million. So the guys that they draft in the fourth round, the fifth round, whatever, they're all making about the same as those bottom guys are, the $1 million. So they all kind of cancel each other out. But what won't cancel each other out will be like their top couple, maybe first two picks, because they got picked, I think it's 3 and 34. They got the third pick in the first, second in the second, and the first in the third. First pick in the third round. So guaranteed their first, unless they do some kind of trading. But as of right now, their first round pick number 3, and pick number 34, those two picks will go against the Giants salary cap, because pick number 3 is going to, I forgot what it is, but he's going to be making like $8 million. I forgot what it was, 9 million or something like that, whatever the scale is. Pick number 1 guy makes 10 million. Pick number 2 guy makes like 9. Pick number 3 makes like 8 or whatever it is. And then the 34th pick overall, the guy's going to make maybe a couple million. So those two guys are going to count toward the cap. So if the Giants have about $45 to $50 million in salary cap, those first two picks are going to, that's $10 million that's coming right off the cap right there. Okay. So the Giants have, 35 to 40 million, right, as of right now, okay, in cap space. Now, the Giants can certainly let some guys go. Some guys are due like roster bonuses if they're on the roster at the start of the new league year. So that's a key thing right there. So you notice that some of these players are being let go, right, because they have like roster bonuses. If you're on the roster at the beginning of the new league year, which is Wednesday at 4:00, right? Some of these players, these free agents that sign contracts in years prior, some of them they have these roster bonuses, and so teams, if they don't have any inkling on re-signing these guys, or they don't think they can re-sign them, they just let them go, so they can, so that they're not on the hook for that roster bonus. Okay. So there are certain guys the Giants can certainly let go. I've seen quite a few. I've seen Motor Singletary, unfortunately, right? The Giants, I'm not sure how high they are on Eric Gray, right? But the Giants, there's a ton of running backs out there. Giants could bring a running backs in. They got Turbo Miller, right? Maybe, right? But they might keep their Motor. Don't know, right? But they could let him go. I've seen articles where they might think about maybe letting him go and saving a few $1 million this season. Graham Gano, let him go, save a few $1 million this season. Nacho, same thing. Let him go, save a few $1 million this season. Also, I've seen it where it's like Bobby Okereke. Crazy as that sounds, because you figure in 2023, the guy was flying around all over the field in Wink's system. Wink was putting him in Wink's system, the best situation to be successful. Now, of course, Wink was there, right, with his defense and all that. Then they brought a Okereke, and then it's like, they went to Wink. It's like, what do you think we get a Okereke? Can you, what can you do with him? Would he prosper in your system? And we saw with Wink's system, Okereke, there was 149 tackles. He played in every defensive snap. Right now, of course, this past season, he did get injured with his back. Something to keep an eye on. But With Wing gone, you bring in Bowen, and now with his system, not everybody, not all players are equal, right? His system may not put all the players in the best position to be successful, like with Wing. Now, let's not also forget Pinnock, right? 2 years ago, Pinnock with Martindale had a bigger impact than maybe this past season with Bowen. So that's why one of the things, the Giants may not be bringing Pinnock back, right? Because with the Bowen defense, his schematics, right, scheme, Pinnock may not be as worthy or worthwhile to keep as was with Wink, right? And the thing is, with Pinnock, Pinnock's not it wouldn't cost. He's not costing Xavier McKinney money. Xavier McKinney was $17 million with the Packers. Pinnock's not costing that much, but it doesn't seem like the Giants are bringing him back, right? So I mean, I even heard that. That possible cap casualty might be Bobby Okereke. I mean, I would just for a guy who can make tackles all over the freaking place, right, for $10 million a year, I mean, I would find it rather odd that the Giants, I don't know, try to put the guys in the best positions possible to be successful. And Bowen's defense didn't seem to do that with Okereke. Now, I said the thing's going to be interesting to see, right, because, with his back. Right, so, but the Giants certainly could let some players go, free up some cash, anywhere probably from $10 to $15 million that they will let some players go. They can also restructure many contracts. There was at least 5 contracts I saw that they could restructure and free up like maybe another 30 or 40 million. So the Giants could really theoretically, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but theoretically come up with probably $80 to $90 million after their, maybe $80 million, after signing their draft class, right? They can have probably another $80 million, could, but Shane would have to be kicking the can down the road with some of these, restructuring deals. Okay. Is it worth it? We'll have to wait and see. Is it worth doing? Two points here. Is it worth doing? Okay, restructuring all these deals and kicking the can down the road. Is it worth doing it on a team that's not going to the Super Bowl? Because we're not going to the Super Bowl. Or, point 2, is it worth doing restructuring these deals, kicking the can down the road, bringing in a bunch of good players, right? As I said, kicking the can down the road for a coach and a GM might be fighting for their job. So, it could be interesting to see which way the Giants go. Very, very interesting to see which way they go. But how might they spend their money? Well, it's going to be interesting to see. One of the big things, as I said, if they restructure contracts and all this stuff and everything, they could come up with 70, 80 million. They could. Once again, not sure if they're going to. We'll find out. But, the biggest thing would be, what are they going to do with the quarterback position, which is our next portion of our program we're going to talk about. What are they doing with the quarterback? I mean, they got a plan in the draft, right? And, they have some inkling how maybe the first 2 picks might go. Who knows? Maybe they have a possible trade. Who knows? With the Titans to move up to number 1. We don't know that, right? But they have an idea of maybe what wind up happening in the draft, right? We got Tommy Chicken, Cutler, Parmesan, right? You got to get at least 3 more quarterbacks. Now, obviously, the third quarterback, it'd be somebody, an undrafted rookie or somebody like a Tim Boyle, right? Somebody put on the practice, whatever, right? But what are they going to do at quarterback? Are they going in for the jugular, right? They're going for I hope not. They're going for an Aaron Rodgers where he's going to cost you $40 million a year or whatever, right? And it would take up a large chunk of their salary cap money that they have. Or they're going to go the mid-range, right? Maybe, if Justin Fields is out there, right? Jameis Winston is out there, right? Some of these guys in the mid, not even mid range, like maybe $10 million, 50. I don't know. I'm not sure what those guys, they're not getting $40 million a year, right? So we'll have to wait and see. That's the biggest thing. Another one of the things too is that one thing Shane was talking about in Hard Knocks last year, one of those episodes, whichever one it was, I can't remember. But he was talking about, remember one of those episodes, I don't remember if it was the first one or not. He's like on his phone where he was on a text, and you heard him say something like, "Oh," or something like that. And it was a text came to his phone. And he's like, and it mentioned what the salary cap was going to be, and it went up. This was last year, obviously, right? The salary cap, so they had more money to spend. So he's like, "Oh, it's a good thing." Of course, we know where some of that extra money didn't go. Certain number 26 who won a Super Bowl with another team. Anyway, but one of the things he talked about in one of those episodes was, what do you do with that money, right? Say he's got $40 million, right? Do you bring in, we can just start at the top, work our way down. You go out and get Aaron Rodgers, boom, one guy, $40 million. There goes the cap. Do you bring in two guys, $20 million apiece? You go out and get a top-notch cornerback. I'm not sure they're going to cost you 20, but it'd be close to it, right? And you go out there and whatever, I don't know, go out and grab a nice wide receiver or somebody's going to cost you 20, whatever, right? So you get two guys, $20 million apiece. You get four guys, $10 million apiece. Do you get a $20 million? Do you get a $10 million? That's $30 million, and then you get five $2 million guys. How do you break it up? It's tough. If you go for that one boomer, the big splash, right? They could, if everything works out, they can make a difference, right? However, if they get injured, you just spent $40 million on a guy who's on the sideline, right? If you get four $10 million guys, now you've got a pretty much plugged four. I mean, if you go out and you spend $10 million on a wide receiver, that's wide receiver number 3. If you go out and spend $10 million on a guard, okay, that's your what do we got? That would be your right guard. That's your starting right guard, right? You go out and spend $10 million on a safety. Guess what? Right now you got Nubin, and you got your safety for $10 million, right? If possibly depends on how you're going to go with a quarterback. Justin Fields could be $10 million, right? That wouldn't be a top of the echelon cornerback, but a $10 million cornerback wouldn't be bad. He would be in your starting lineup. So if you went out and you spent $40 million on 4 players, just say 10, that's 4 holes you're going to plug right there. We do know the Giants need depth, right? Because a lot of times, maybe the Giants don't always maybe do the best job at developing their players, right? One of the things they say is draft the players, develop the players, and keep the players. Well, that doesn't always happen. So one of the times, one of the things is that sometimes when the starter goes down because they get injured, because they're New York Giants and they're going to get injured, the guy taking his place is a step down, right? So we need good depth, right? So I mean, you can go out and, what would that be? You go out and spend $15 million on one guy, $10 million on another guy, right? That's 2 guys that you can plug and play, right away. And then you got $15 million left. Say you go out and get 5 guys at $3 million apiece. Well, they should be some good depth pieces. Players at $3 million. I mean, look at, or if you bring back somebody like a Van Roten, right? You can get him for under 3, and he was your starting guard, right? But so going to be very interesting to see how the Giants go about doing this. I mean, obviously, if they have $40 million to spend in free agency, they're not blowing it all on one player, right? But one thing Shane did bring up, he was mentioning this. I can't remember exact wording, but it was kind of like, so what do? Right? You go out and bring in a couple real good players that maybe can make a difference, but then you don't have any money for depth. Or you're bringing in two players that make a difference, but you still have all these holes, which maybe you can fill in the draft. Let's hope, right? So it'd be interesting to see exactly where the Giants kind of go on this. There's a lot of ways they can go, but usually the obviously, as we've seen in the past, the big time moves usually happen within the first few days, right? So